And I felt that was a mistake. And I kind of learned the good things and the bad things from Mike. He was a great negotiator, great preparation, taught me all those type of things, but also realized, and it was a different era there. There was no free agency.
Right.
He could abuse the agents and get away with it
Yep.
and not have it come back to haunt him. But I learned when free agency came, and even before that, that just wasn't my personality. I was going to be able to communicate with people and have relationships, and I think it's important. And ultimately, I think in this era, it's a better approach.
Yeah, I think it's a necessary approach,
Yes.
and the personal touch always matters. It's been just fascinating because, Zimmer's an old school guy. Spielman, I think, in some ways is old school, though he certainly has adopted a lot of modern analytics and approaches. But they have not, didn't crack down on people. They said, okay, let's try to manage this. Let's try to get through. And I think that's been the right approach. And that's why they got to 9-4. One fascinating thing here is that as the Vikings have looked forward, how do you win the division? How do you get a better seed? All of a sudden now the Los Angeles Rams are creeping up behind. And right now they kind of look like the team that was favored to win the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, they looked really impressive against Seattle the other night, and Goff is playing better, and Aaron Donald and that defense are stepping up. Gurley looks like he's back to what he was in the past, and the passing game is dynamic. We know that. And so, yeah, the Rams are certainly in the rearview mirror close by, only a game back, and the Bears also are hot. They have won 3 in a row, and Trubisky playing better. And so both those teams are right on the Vikings' heels, and so I think what that says is that, okay, unless you're going to get some help, for example, the Rams go to Dallas this week. Well, I don't know if you can count on the Cowboys to do a lot right now, but somebody's got to win the NFC East. They still are tied with Philadelphia for first. Philadelphia's got an easier schedule. Mm-hmm. Those two teams play next week. And so is Dallas going to figure, well, we can drop it to the Rams and still beat the Eagles and then have a season sweep, and we're going to win the division as long as we win our last game, which I think is against Washington. So you worry about the Rams because they are playing well, but truth of the matter is that the Vikings take care of their own business, right, and win out, they'll be fine and have I think a real good shot to win the division, because I think the Bears are going to play the Packers tough this week.
I think they will,
and I would not be surprised if the Bears knock them off in Lambeau, and which is a catch-22 because that keeps the Bears in the race. But if the Vikings can beat the Chargers, or even if they don't beat the Chargers in that scenario, they could still potentially beat Green Bay and win a tiebreaker because of common opponents if the Vikings beat the Packers next week and then win the finale against the Bears. But I don't know if you want to count on that scenario. No. I think that the Vikings need to win this game against the Chargers. It's not fatal if they don't, but they need to win, especially with the Rams in the rearview mirror. And as we said, see what happens with Chicago and Green Bay, who will play immediately before them, so they'll know where they stand when they take the field on Sunday afternoon in the later game against the Chargers.
Right. I have a question for you about Jerry Jones. Do want to thank B52 Burgers and Brew. There's a location in Lakeville, Minnesota. There's also a location not far from where we are right now at the Vikings facility, which is in Inver Grove Heights. If you ever are coming to training camp or out to the Vikings Museum or have any reason to come by Vikings facility, B52 is very convenient. But, of course, go there regardless of where you happen to be.
Right. B52 Burgers and Brew. Love the restaurant, and the great restaurant in Inver Grove Heights, which is the host of our Monday Night Purple show on News Talk 830 WCCO, 5 minutes from Viking headquarters in Eagan, the Inver Grove Heights location, also great location in Lakeville. And I've had a great season of shows at B52, and just look forward to our continued stay at B52. Have 25 varieties of burgers, great entrees and appetizers, Monday night specials, and you can check out their website, b52burgersandbrew.com. And as we said, home of Monday Night Purple. We had Anthony Harris on, who's having a great season. Had him on the show.
And one of the best guys on the team, too.
Yeah, terrific guy. And Mike Boone, who got some carries in the game last week. Mm-hmm. So those two guys were on the last show. And working on the next show, which will be next Monday night at B52 Burgers and Brew in Inver Grove Heights. So hope to see you out there, B52 Burgers and Brew, and check out their website, b52burgersandbrew.com.
So the Cowboys are, unfortunately for them, one of the most fascinating teams of the season. Loaded with talent. Prescott is having a breakout season, and the team still stinks. And if they weren't in the NFC East, they'd already be completely eliminated. And it's obvious that Jason Garrett is not the right guy for this team. And Jerry Jones might bring him back because Jerry Jones likes having a lapdog as a head coach. Jerry Jones is a phenomenal businessman. He has helped grow his brand. He has made $1 billion. He has gotten an incredible stadium built. He has helped usher the NFL toward bigger and bigger money deals and better TV deals. But, man, he's a bad general manager.
Well, it's interesting because you look at the talent on that team, you say, well, maybe he's not such a bad general manager because they're picking good players.
That's true.
But are they managing those players?
Right.
Are they getting the right guys signed? Dak Prescott has been unsigned all year, and maybe that's not Jerry's fault. If he's asking for $45 million a year or something, whatever, then you say, okay, Dak, prove it, get us to the playoffs, win a playoff game, which he did last year, by the way. And so, but they've gotten deals done with Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper, and
you're right. In that way, in building a roster, they've done very good work.
Yeah, but maybe perhaps in hiring the right coach, and that's a big part of being a GM and being a team owner. You got to have the right people under you, and Jason Garrett, I think, has not had a good year, clearly, and I think part of his downfall perhaps started in the Viking game when he went away from the passing game that was kind of eating up the Vikings' corners and tried to force feed Ezekiel Elliott at the end of the game, and Vikings stopped him, and so it's kind of been all downhill since then for Dallas. But yeah, they've had some issues this year, and another guy who's had some issues right now, Le'Veon Bell, Jim.
Yes. Speaking of problematic personalities,
yes.
I try not to just crack down on players every time they do something silly, but this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell has had kind of a tough season with the Jets, and his productivity is way down compared to what it was in Pittsburgh, and he is averaging 83 yards per game rushing and receiving. It's a 42% drop-off from his last 2 years in Pittsburgh when he averaged 142 yards per game and was a Pro Bowler both those seasons. Steelers were a playoff team, of course, and now the Jets are sitting at 5-8, and they're not sniffing the playoffs. They'll end up 5-11. Bell will come back this week. Last week he misses the game against Miami with the flu, but then he spotted out bowling on Saturday night before the game, and so again, just looks like a bad look for him, bad look for the team, and Adam Gase looks like he doesn't have control over his running back. Didn't even want him in the first place. That Mike McCagnon had signed him, and so the new GM has a real problem on his hand in Joe Douglas, and the problem is he can't cut him, he can't trade him because no one's going to take on that contract or that diva personality, and they've got next year $17 million of dead money on his contract, and so they're really stuck with him for this year and next year, and then they can get rid of him in 2021 and have a $4 million dead money hit. But it's just, again, the dangers of free agency, and there have not been a lot of big impact free agent signings this year, and right now he looks like a free agent bust, and he may be following Antonio Brown out of the league here in a couple of years if he doesn't have some way to pick up his performance. But if the coach doesn't believe in you and the system is not tailor-made for you, the bottom line is he never should have left Pittsburgh. He was in a perfect situation. Yep. They put a good offer out to him, and he was upset about the franchise tag and let it carry over. And that was a great system for him, production, had a great quarterback he was playing with in Roethlisberger, and just mistake after mistake that he and his agent made in this process, and it's coming back to bite him again now. And I did write about that in my SportingNews.com column this week about Le'Veon Bell and the Jets. The marriage is not going to end well.
No. And let's give credit to former Vikings defensive coordinator Mike Tomlin. Ben Roethlisberger has had all kinds of off-the-field problems and seems to not be a great teammate. Le'Veon Bell, obviously a head case. Antonio Brown, borderline crazy and criminal. And Mike Tomlin somehow held that stuff together, won a lot of games, and now he's winning games without those guys. It speaks volumes about Tomlin's value as a coach. I know that there was a time a year or two ago when people were saying, "Oh, maybe Tomlin's run his course, should be out of there." Boy, I'd keep that guy around.
Yeah, I think the Coach of the Year race this year is really interesting.
It really is.
And I think Mike Tomlin is right in my mind, right near the top, if not at the top. But you look at guys like Harbaugh, what he's done in Baltimore, and Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, and certainly Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, and so on and so forth, and Sean Payton in New Orleans overcoming the loss of Breeze for so many games, playing with Bridgewater. So, and hey, Mike Zimmer's had a pretty good year too, and with the things he's had to navigate. But I do think Mike Tomlin has done a terrific job and just keeping an even keel. And I think that's what Zimmer did during some of the stuff we talked about during the season. Kind of keep the even keel, try to low key it, slow play it as much as you can, and say we'll get past it, and they did, and that's what the Seawers did. But yeah, what they had to overcome, pretty amazing this year, and now they're sitting at 8-5 and in that wild card spot, and could be a dangerous team in the playoffs because their defense is playing better and better every week.
Absolutely. All right, let's do our pick. I got to admit, Jeff, I have a bad feeling about this game from the Vikings perspective. This team, again, the numbers, Vikings historically are not good on grass. They haven't practiced on grass in a while. I don't know if the atmosphere is going to be the kind that gets people fired up or not. It's the West Coast. It's a place where the Packers laid a complete egg. The Chargers are playing really well and are healthier than they've been all year. I have a bad feeling about this. I guess I'm going to go with history over, who the better team is right now, and I'm going to pick the Chargers like 23-20.
Yeah, I think it's a tough game to call. And honestly, before the season, I did have the Vikings getting beat against the Chargers, but that was when I was looking at a playoff team in the Chargers from last year, which they look a little better now. And it's kind of interesting when I look at this season as a whole. And way back in the beginning of the year, I picked the Vikings to go 11-5, and I had them losing this game to the Chargers, but winning the last two at home. And I remember you laughed at me when I said 11-5. You said, "Oh, you're so overly optimistic," but it looks like that's the way it's kind of playing out. And really, I'm not sure that there's any games other than perhaps Dallas going to the season that they've won that we didn't think they were going to win, or vice versa, that they've lost any clunkers, such as the Buffalo game last year. It's kind of gone according to chalk almost the whole year. But this is kind of an interesting game to me, and I'm going to pick the Vikings to find a way to win this game. I think I'm going to take desperation over perhaps a team that is coming off a big win, maybe feeling pretty good after thrashing Jacksonville last week. I think it's a close call. I'm going to take the Vikings 27-24 in this game, and I'm going to count on Rivers to throw a couple picks that can help turn the tide.
And what I was thinking, if the Vikings cornerbacks play well, the Vikings win this game, I think. So that's going to be the test. Rivers is going to put some balls out there that the Vikings quarterbacks make the plays on them or not. So one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong, which means Jeff's probably going to be right, and I'm going to probably be wrong.
Well, I think you were right in Seattle, and I was wrong. So I thought the Vikings would find a way to upset the Seahawks, and that didn't pan out. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a fascinating few weeks here, leading to a fascinating playoffs. The NFL is it's never been more fascinating to me. It's great to have Jeff on the network talking about it. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to White Bear Lake Superstore and B52 Burgers and Brew, and of course our producer Brandon Morton. We'll talk to you next week.